Let's go, everyone. It's mailbag time. And it feels like Friday. I woke up, I thought it was Friday today. So happy Friday, everybody, on this Thursday, July 3rd. Dan Schneier's here. What are your 4th of July plans, Dan?
4th of July plans start with a round of golf in the morning. Can't wait for that. And then a barbecue in the afternoon. So I'm very excited about that.
And Dave?
Hi.
What are your 4th of July plans?
I don't know.
Oh, come on.
He'll figure them out.
I don't know. What? I'm going to be nice and neat and organized like Dan. I got a wife. I got kids. I got a dog.
Okay, fill in the blank. If there's one thing I need in my life on 4th of July, it is blank.
Liam Cohen cut-ups on play passes.
You're so, you better not work a single second tomorrow, Dave. Just
I guarantee you I will be right here. If anybody needs me, give me a call. I'll be ready to go on on a show.
Oh, give me a break. All right, Dan, how about you? Fill in the blank. Have fun.
That's good. I think it's just a cheeseburger. I think a good cheeseburger with nothing on it. Pickles, ketchup, cheese. That's it.
That's like a regular Wednesday for me.
Well, I also eat a hot dog, and I rarely eat hot dogs. I eat dogs about my dog intake has actually gone up by like six to 10 per year. Unfortunately, I was at like 1 on 4th of July only, and now it's a good when you make the turn in golf from going from 9th hole to the 10th hole. It's good to get a dog on a golf course. It really is. So my dog intake has definitely gone up, sadly. But for dogs, I have strict rules. Mustard's good. Kraut is good. I like mustard, red onions, and relish. But anyone who puts ketchup on a dog is just, what are they doing? What are they doing?
Actually, I don't put anything. I just eat
like a kid.
No, Adam, you are exactly the person that puts ketchup on a hot dog.
I used to, but no, I don't anymore. I just have the hot dog. And that is the one thing that I need on 4th of July. It is hot dog.
As a dog, okay. Yeah. And by the way, I can't believe you didn't make any comment about my U.S. Open 2023. As you know, Prop Joe once said to Avon Barksdale on the mean streets of Baltimore, you got to look the part, be the part. Mother something, and I won't fill in that blank, but some can figure that out. And it's okay. It's a family show, but it didn't say anything. And it's kind of just, if you get it, you get it. If you know, if you've seen the show. Adam has never seen The Wire, sadly. So he wouldn't even understand that quote or who Prop Joe is. Sadly.
Of course, that what you just said is not true. I have seen The Wire. I watched 5 episodes. It was extremely boring. And then I stopped watching it. Okay. So just real quick before we get into our emails, today's a mailbag show, fantasyfootball@cbsi.com. That is the letter I. fantasyfootball@cbsi.com. We're also reading your Apple Podcast questions. And I'll tell you about the mailbag we're doing next week where you can pay $50, donate it to St. Jude to have your question read on the air. We'll talk a little bit more about Draftathon in about 10 minutes or so. Important correction from yesterday's show. Ooh, boy, embarrassing. And nobody called me out on it. I said that Darren Waller didn't have a lot of tread on his tires. And what I meant by that was he didn't have a lot of usage, basically, for a 32-year-old. But I was corrected by a very much smarter than me listener who said, when you don't have a lot of tread on the tires, it actually means you're completely worn down and you need new tires. So
wait a second. I've been using that for my whole life to describe football players. That's just been wrong the entire time.
I think so. I think we've been wrong.
A lot of people get this wrong then.
No, if you don't have tread, that means the tire is bald and you're
right. It means you're overworn. You've worn down.
You have tread on the tire. Plenty of tread left on the tire.
But tread is a good thing.
Tread is a good thing.
Yeah, we've been using that wrong the entire time.
Yeah, you guys have. Yeah.
I think not just we, like the entire community has used that wrong.
I think so. I think a lot of people are wrong on that. So there you go. Talk about it at the water cooler. All right. Our first email comes from Pete from Seattle, and he has a subject: player comps. I couldn't help but think of these 2 comps, not saying they are literally going to be these players, but the scenarios are similar. J.J. McCarthy to Patrick Mahomes. Both guys sat year 1 behind very competent quarterbacks. Both have elite offensive weapons and a coach, and elite coach. Both NFL draft pick number 10. So that's his one comp. And actually, Mahomes in college in his last year, this is from me, he threw for 5,052 yards and 41 touchdowns. McCarthy threw for 2,991 and 22 touchdowns, but actually averaged significantly more yards per attempt than Mahomes. He just didn't throw that much. He averaged 9 yards per attempt. Mahomes
throw a lot.
Mahomes 8.5 yards per attempt. So that is comp number one, McCarthy to Mahomes. The second one is Kupp to Larry Fitzgerald. This is a great one. Both had fall-offs at age 31, leading people to believe that age has got to them. And then Larry Fitzgerald went on to have 3 more 1,000-yard seasons at ages 32, 33, and 34. And in those seasons, I'll tell you, he was much better in PPR than non-PPR. But I'll give you half PPR. Larry Fitzgerald at ages 32 through 34, wide receiver 13 per game, 12 per game, and 9 per game in half PPR. So, Dave, which comp do you like better, Mahomes to McCarthy or Kupp to Fitzgerald?
I don't like either one of them. In the case of Kupp to Fitzgerald, I don't remember Larry Fitzgerald having a series of injuries that robbed him of his athleticism and ultimately got him cut from one team and signed to another where he'll play theoretically a lesser role. So the fall off for Kupp, I think, has more to do with the injuries he had rather than getting old. Now, you might say, well, when you get older, you're more susceptible to injuries. You have lost a lot of tread on your tire. In that case, you might be right. But I don't see Cooper Kupp having the type of rebound to his career that Larry Fitzgerald had. I'm not even sure Cooper Kupp will be playing football next year. So this is one that I just don't get behind. Could J.J. McCarthy be the next Patrick Mahomes?
No.
Listen, he's right about some of the things, the elite offensive weapons. Are we really ready to say that Kevin O'Connell is an elite coach? Maybe not, but we have seen KOC do a good job with Kirk Cousins, with Sam Darnold, really took both of their games to the next level, could easily do that with J.J. McCarthy. I pushed back on J.J. McCarthy sitting for a year. He had to sit for a year. He had an injury that he had to come back from. I would imagine that if Sam Darnold got off to a slower start or a sluggish start, we would have seen J.J. McCarthy as a rookie play and maybe even play very well for the Minnesota Vikings. Ultimately, I think McCarthy could potentially be a top 12 quarterback, but to go and be like the number one QB like Mahomes was once upon a time, no, I don't think that's happening.
I actually really like the Kupp Fitzgerald comparison because Fitzgerald at age 31, he had a bad year. He had 103 targets and turned that into 784 yards. It's horrible. But he had bad quarterback play. Carson Palmer got hurt. So it was Carson Palmer, but it was also mostly Drew Stanton and also a little bit of Ryan Lindley. 2015, he's 32 years old. And like I said, he's 13th per game in full PPR. He actually had a very good year. He's 13th in yards per route run that year, 1,215 yards on 109 targets. But 2016 and 17, he basically just PPR'd his way to success, kind of like Jalen Waddle's rookie year.
Yes, I remember that year where he just PPR'd his way.
Yeah, he earned a lot of targets. He earned 146 or more targets in all three of those seasons. But I think the point I'd like to make, and I've made this before, with Larry Fitzgerald and with Julian Edelman, primarily slot guys. Like Fitzgerald, at that point in his career, Fitzgerald had been a heavy slot guy. He was no longer this dynamic playmaker on the outside or even on the inside. They still earned a lot of targets and they still put up really big numbers. And it made me think that guys like that who just win in the slot maybe age better than explosive outside receivers. And that's what Kupp has become. I
think a big factor in Kupp's significance in fantasy football has been a combination of one, being in Sean McVay's system and how he utilizes him, and two, having the rapport with Matthew Stafford that he had. He loses both of those things. Maybe the Clint Kubiak system can PPR his way to relevance. I think it's possible. It's the only scenario I see happening. But I think when I watch that Kubiak system with New Orleans, I think JSN has a much better shot of being the guy there that the offense funnels through, just given what I saw last year and throughout his coaching career. So I don't get on board with that. The other one I find ludicrous to compare J.J. McCarthy and Patrick Mahomes. I do. I watched a lot of tape of both of those guys at college. They are nothing alike from an arm talent standpoint. They're nothing alike from really any standpoint as players. So the situations are correct. And one of the things that the listener used to tie them together was that they were both drafted 10th overall. Wasn't Christian Ponder drafted like 10th overall? I mean, we can't really credit anything when it comes to that. Now, I'm not trying to dismantle it. He's having fun. He's trying to find some stuff. And listen,
you're so rude.
If JJ McCarthy becomes the next Patrick Mahomes, then yes, you can come back, find me, and obliterate me anywhere you'd like on social media, whatever you'd like to do. But I will take a hard line in the sand there.
Well, listen, you can do all those things even if JJ McCarthy doesn't become Mahomes. Last thing about the Fitzgerald Kupp thing, you're right about the JSN factor. The best wide receiver on those teams was John Brown. So Fitzgerald really was the number one guy. In fact, one year David Johnson was second in receiving at over 800 receiving yards. Next email's from Fudd. Where's Fudd from, Dave?
Fudd is from Eugene, Oregon.
He says, "Hey, Adam, Dave, Jamie, and Heath." Oof. Ouch.
Yeah, I saw that on the rundown too. It's okay. One day, maybe. One day.
He says, which metric is more important in terms of predicting fantasy success for wide receivers? Yards per route run or target share? Now, I changed this question to target per route run rate because target share, you have to stay healthy. So I looked at the last 3 years of the leaders in target per route run rate and yards per route run rate. They're both pretty good in terms of predicting who's going to be good, but yards per route run rate is better, I'd have to say. But this is really a question about advanced metrics, any metrics really that you use to evaluate wide receivers. And Dave, where do you stand on that? What do you like?
I think as long as you use them in context, then you'll be okay. Yards per route run is important as long as you know how many routes a certain player is running, and using that as information to try and see, using that information along with ADOT and target per route run and all that stuff. I mean, usually those things all kind of jibe together to paint the picture that a player is doing well and that you can count on that guy to be helpful for fantasy. I like what you did, changing target share to target per route run. With target per route run, you're kind of creating a stat that it's not impacted by how many snaps a guy plays. It's literally how often this guy is getting a target based on however many routes he runs. And of course, you're going to still need context for that stat, but I like that one personally myself better than yards per route run, but both are good.
I think they're different metrics. Targets per route run, I think, does a great job of determining how the individual player is behind, if we're looking under the hood. While targets, that's kind of how he's performing. And that can change based on the system, based on the quarterback and the rapport and all of those factors that go around. But ultimately, if you're looking for who is succeeding right now and who's playing the best role on your fantasy team right now, I think it is actually targets per route run, because in the end, I strongly believe that doesn't mean I think that means who's the better player long term and who you can predict year over year, because I know yards per route run is the way more telling as far as like if you look at the advanced metrics for people who break the stuff down, that one is more telling year over year. But I think ultimately this game is a volume game. I've said it before, I'll say it a lot. It's a game of finding players who are on the scoring teams, in my opinion, the high scoring teams that are getting volume, especially as we move more toward most people playing in either half or full PPR leagues.
Yeah. There's a look, the lists are going to be pretty similar. Okay. It's hard to be a standout in yards per route run if you're not a standout in targets per route run. So, you need to get targeted.
Well, there is Wan'Dale Robinson.
He's not a standout in yards per route run.
No, and he might be in targets per route run, but he's definitely not in yards per route run.
Right, exactly. And that's the thing. When you see a guy who's high in target per route run, Wan'Dale is 25th in target per route run rate.
Like 80 something probably in yards per route run.
Probably.
Or worse.
So I'm doing a filter of he's 69th when you look at guys with 50 or more targets.
Yeah, I mean, that's really a Daniel Jones stat, but yeah.
Well, yeah, but like Josh Downs. Josh Downs is interesting. Josh Downs, third highest target per route run rate. I actually had to use a filter of minimum of 70 targets to get rid of guys like Deontay Johnson and Adam Mitchell. So I used 70 targets. Josh Downs is third in target per route run rate. So it's Puka Nacua, Malik Neighbors, Josh Downs, CeeDee Lamb, Drake London, Nico Collins. You see, Josh Downs sticks out like a sore thumb. And he's, I think, 18th in yards per route run because he gets targeted so much. But he's 66th in yards per target.
Yes.
So you love the target per route run rate, but you got to look at Josh Downs and go, gosh, if he doesn't get a lot of targets.
That's interesting, Adam, because he's been one of the hottest topic names this offseason on fantasy Twitter. A lot of people that I respect talking about him as probably the best, they believe the best value in Dynasty right now, the player that you should trade for. But when you break it down like that, Adam, how much further, because like the idea is, wow, he gets Daniel Jones, the biggest check down artist in the NFL. This is going to explode. But he was already third in targets per route run. So there's not that much more to grow there. And I don't think the yards per route run will rise from 66. I think it'll actually fall.
Yards per target was 66. yards per route run was 18th because he's targeted so much on his routes.
Yeah. Sorry, yards per target. Because Daniel Jones doesn't have a history of making things better for wide receivers. So I don't know about Downs. I think he's getting a little too inflated.
Okay. I probably have to update this because, yards per route run
But did you Azer stat this?
No, I toggled back between 50 target and 70 target.
I've got it right in front of me. What do you want to know?
Josh Downs. So do I, Dave. He's 44th out of 59.
Whoa, that was
44th out of 59 wide receivers in yards per target when you look at 70 or more targets. All right. One more email before we get to a break here. This is from a Quinshon Judkins fan. It's from Zach. He thinks we're sleeping on Quinshon Judkins. He is consistently passed over in discussions of impactful running backs, regardless of rookie status or veterans. We're talking about a guy who was the third running back off the board and in a situation that screams workhorse usage. He doesn't like his competition. He doesn't take it seriously. And he loves his advanced metrics and his draft capital. So I think Zach has a good point. What are we missing here, Dave, on Quinshon Judkins?
We're missing a potent offense that's going to score a lot of points.
Does that matter as a guy we're taking in the 6th round?
Well, that's right. So, like, first of all, we're already taking him at a pretty decent spot. And I'm taking him ahead of a bunch of other rookies, too, especially in non-PPR. And I like him as a talent, but we talked about it during the lead up to the draft. He doesn't have a ton of explosive plays. He can do it. It's just that he never really did. And he's playing on a Cleveland offense where I don't think anybody's expecting a lot of points to be scored. Heath did bring up on our show yesterday, we talked a lot about teams that have a lot of volume. Cleveland has been toward the top in plays run. Right. But I don't know if that's going to lead to massive numbers for the running back. It hasn't. Now, it's Jerome Ford mostly over the last 2 seasons. And Jerome Ford is just not as talented as Quinshon Judkins. Judkins can be better than that, but can he be the second best rookie this year? I mean, I would expect Hampton to be better. In PPR, Henderson will probably be better. I'd put him in the same range as Caleb Johnson. And that's not a slight. It just means that it's not somebody that I'm going to take with like a top 50 pick or anything like that. Good player, will get a good opportunity. Brown's defense is going to be competitive, so there will be a bunch of games where I think he can line up and get 15 touches, but he's going to share. And I don't know how many touchdowns he'll ultimately get. And that's kind of a problem for a guy that's not going to catch a ton of passes either. So I think round 6 is totally fine for Quinshon Judkins.
Didn't he also beat up on all the bad competition?
Jacob Gibbs had really good numbers on this. His numbers against Power 5 conference, or I guess it's 6 now, Power 6 conference versus the bad teams. He was much more effective in every single metric, including raw production, versus the bad teams outside the Power 6 conference, and really came down a lot versus the Power 6. That to me could be a little like that's not a lot of data to work with. That sample size is not huge in my mind, so I'm not as worried about that as I am worried about the things that Dave broke down. What am I buying here if I'm drafting him on my draft night on fantasy? I'm buying a back in what I think is a really bad offense that could be really bad, as in like we're getting 180 to 200 yards a game, a ton of punts, very few red zone possessions, not guaranteed role in the passing game. He's shown capable, but not necessarily sure the Browns are capable of getting their running back involved in the passing game, depending on who's playing quarterback there. And an offensive line that at one point during the Stefanski era was dominant, a scheme that was working really well. Some of that, in my mind, was Nick Chubb's unbelievable mental processing, one of the best processing backs in the NFL that I've seen over the last 10 years. But that line has fallen in recent years. It's not the same. It's still good. I'd still call it above average, most likely if they stay healthy, but it's not dominant. So I don't know what I'm buying here. Like you mentioned a name, Dave, that I've been consistently drafting over him since the NFL draft happened. It's Caleb Johnson. With Caleb Johnson, I'm getting a proven offensive coordinator who has designed a run game that's very successful, an offensive line on the uptick, a quarterback that's going to be better and moving the ball more, and a player in Caleb Johnson who I think is a better fit for that outside zone blocking scheme that Arthur Smith likes to lean on than Quinshon Judkins is for Kevin Stefanski's scheme. So maybe I will think Judkins a little bit better player than Johnson, though I'm not even sold on that. And I'll take a much better situation with Johnson.
He had 15 runs of 30 plus yards over 728 career carries in college. He was chased down multiple times over 3 seasons, including by older defensive backs now playing in the NFL who ran 4.45 or worse at the scouting combine.
All right, I'm going to take a break here, and we'll come back and read more of your emails, your Apple Podcast questions, and YouTubers, if you're watching live, we'll get to you at the end of the show. We'll be right back.
Here we go. The 2025 CBS Sports NFL schedule is here. 18 glorious Sundays.
He's got his receiver touchdown.
Filled with rematches.
Oh, the play of the year.
And rivalries.
Touchdown, Bengals.
Plus, plenty of superstar showdowns. And an epic matchup between the Chiefs and Cowboys on Thanksgiving. Clear your Sundays beginning September 7th for the NFL on CBS and Paramount Plus.
tinyurl.com/2025FFT. tinyurl.com/2025FFT. That is
Get it rolling.
That is our draft-a-thon page. And right now, there's only one item you can bid on, and it is having your mailbag questions answered on the air. So we are going to release 10 of these at a time. Right now, 2 have been purchased, $50 per question, and all of it goes to St. Jude. I know it sounds crazy, but I have to pay $50 to get my question answered. But the point is, make a donation to St. Jude.
Yes.
So it's obviously an amazing charity. Other things you'll be able to see at some point, FFT open spots. And you'll be able to bid on the rematch. Adam and Dan playing tennis. That's going to be in mid-August. And you can bid on being on sharing a team with us in the FFT League. And the winner of the tennis match gets to pick their draft spot. And
we'll have more coming. We have to do more around it. Those details aren't finalized yet as far as what the stakes are at play here. Yeah. No, there's going to be high stakes. And I'll say this, a few notes on Draft-a-thon. It's my favorite time of the year. My most proud moment being a part of this company. I would say that it's not just lip service, what Adam just said when it comes to St. Jude. Do some research. It'll take you 5 seconds on Google. This is up there for the best charity, if not the best charity in the country. Just look at where all the money is going and look at what it does, what they do to help children. So it's really good. Your money will go to a good place. As far as the match goes, me versus Adam, we have some updates coming on that later, but just know this year the production will be better. It won't just be me putting my cell phone up on a back cage of a tennis court and hoping that you guys can see it. Because by the way, that cell phone did us no favors, Adam. It made us look like much worse players with much worse pace on the ball. This year we're getting more production. And one more final note on the upcoming match. Before the pod, it's unbelievable that this is happening already, a month and a half out. But Adam is already claiming he's injured, whining to me about something that's bothering him before the show today. I'm a little injured. I'm like, Adam, do me a favor, rest up, baby, because I ain't taking it easy on you when the day comes.
Yeah, I got a little bit of an elbow soreness going on here.
There we go.
FFT Open, by the way, the teams will be released. You'll be able to bid on FFT Open spots on July 21st. So save that date. Dan and I are both playing tennis today separately. So we are in training mode. Okay, here we go. Guys, I spent a lot of time in those first few emails intentionally. Good topics. Probably going to have to, maybe this one will spend some time on too, and then we'll go a little bit quicker. This is from Matt. Looking for consistency here. We always look at final stats, point per game, but isn't consistency more important? Do you have any best way to measure this? Chat GPT could probably do this, but I don't have the time to spot check.
Well, I can also do this because I measure this every year. Depending on the position, there's a number that I set as a baseline as far as PPR points goes. And then I just measure how many games a player had above that threshold, divided by the number of the games they played. And then there's an obvious natural ranking that comes along with it. So I've got the players who are the most consistent and least consistent that you might give a damn about. Name the position and I'll tell you.
Yeah, quarterback.
Yeah. All right. So the baseline for quarterback is 22 fantasy points per game. That's in a 6-point per touchdown league. Guys, take a guess. Who do you think was the most consistent
Lamar Jackson
in fantasy last year?
Lamar Jackson. Only
you are correct, sir.
You're 20.
Yeah.
He had the most games with 22 or more fantasy points. Can you name who was second?
Yeah, I want to guess that because obviously we knew Lamar. I think it might be Jared Goff.
No.
Jared Goff was tied for 10th.
Baker Mayfield.
Baker Mayfield was number 2.
Wow.
Very
man,
good.
so good.
I know.
Good that he's good at something.
After that, there's a 3-way tie between Josh Allen, Jaden Daniels, and Sam Darnold. Keep in mind that this is just the baseline number that we're talking about. It doesn't take fantasy point per game average into consideration. And I say that because Josh Allen, Jaden Daniels, Sam Darnold all tied for 3rd in consistency.
Wow.
But Josh Allen was 4th in fantasy points per game. Jaden Daniels right behind him. Sam Darnold a little bit further behind. But that's the type of thing. Some people care about that. They don't want to just draft a guy. You hear a number, 18 PPR points per game. Well, what good is that number if 4 of the games are in the high 20s and everything else is like 11 points per game? Now we're talking about like what we used to say about Tyler Lockett back in the day, where you start him and you hope he has one of those big blow up games and helps you win your week. But more than often, he's a dud on your roster and you kind of wish that you didn't start him. So consistency is something that matters. I think you guys might be interested to know that Patrick Mahomes was the only quarterback 12 points per game who finished 20th or worse in consistency last year.
Wow.
We could do this for all the other positions, or you can come back to me and I'll give you a couple of.
Oh, wait. Okay.
Other positions.
Give me a second here. So Patrick Mahomes, what? Say that again. Go ahead.
Patrick Mahomes was 10th in fantasy points per game last year. Again, 6 point per passing touchdowns. He was 20th in consistency.
Yeah, because consistency is reaching 22 points.
Right.
Well, he didn't even average that. So of course he's gonna be high. Like, how could he be high in consistency when
he's averaging 20.9? Sure.
Yeah. So that makes sense. But this is what I find amazing about Lamar Jackson. One of the knocks I had on Lamar Jackson was that he was incredibly inconsistent. For the 4 years prior to last season, 2020 to 2023, he scored fewer than 20 fantasy points in 6 point per passing touchdown leagues in 43% of his games. That's Lamar Jackson. Fewer than 20 fantasy points in 43% of his games from 2020 to 2023. He did that twice last year. And by comparison, 43% of his games for Lamar Jackson in that same stretch, 21% for Patrick Mahomes, 18% for Josh Allen. 1 out of 5 games, they would be under 20 fantasy points from 2020 to 2023. Lamar Jackson was nearly half. So he was wildly inconsistent, except for his 2 unbelievable years where he scored 30 fantasy points per game. I still think that might be in his profile, that inconsistency. So it is interesting that he finished number 1, because he would not have been number 1, I guarantee you, the previous 4 years.
I mean, his touchdown rate in the red zone is almost guaranteed to come down.
Oh, you're still stealing my stat?
It's a stat everybody's putting out there. It's so it's something.
Oh, really?
You need to consider. I mean, anyone who knows anything about fantasy, this is the number 1 regression candidate in fantasy. Doesn't mean he still couldn't finish 1 or around there, but he's definitely not someone I'm projecting to finish 1.
All right, this is from Colin. If you were a wrestler, what would your entry music be?
I can't believe Adam's claiming that stat as he's the one who I
gave it on the show yesterday. It was the stat of the day yesterday.
Just yesterday you gave it? Oh, I saw that weeks ago on Twitter. Weeks ago.
All right, what would your wrestling entry music be?
Oh, I thought you said name. My name would have been Azer's worst nightmare. My intro music. Good question. This is great. How about...
Can I pick a wrestler's theme?
No.
This has got to be unique, Dave. Pick your own. And as somebody who doesn't know wrestling very well, just besides like old school WWF, which I used to love, because otherwise, if we were picking a wrestler, I would just pick the Stone Cold glass break. That's a great one. But
I saw that on Twitter 3 weeks ago. Good call.
Yeah, someone
saw that on Twitter 20 years ago.
Yeah. I mean, this Lamar Jackson regression stat is not Adams. It really is.
50% red zone touchdown rate is the highest since at least 2000.
Yes, I know it. I saw it 2 weeks ago on Twitter.
Sure.
But
okay. Anyway, it doesn't seem like you have an answer. So
give me Enter Sandman.
Okay, that's pretty good. Dave, anything?
I would also pick an equally rocking song. I would go with "Looking for Freedom" by David Hasselhoff.
I take it back. I want "Down with the Sickness" by Disturbed, just so I can do the wow.
Yeah, that's a good one. I would usually, people have asked what my baseball walk-up music would be, and I always say My Hero by the Foo Fighters, which
depends where I played. If I played in Citi Field, it would be something by Nas, something from his first album, from Illmatic. I don't know which one.
Wasn't asking you. I was in the middle of a story. But for wrestling, I don't think that works. I would go with Down by Stone Temple Pilots.
Yeah.
Very
good one. I only know that from last year when you told me to listen to them.
Oh, really?
Nice. Yeah, they're on my shuffle now.
Oh, they're the best.
They're good.
Can I give him Malik Neighbors stat?
No.
Oh, yeah.
Question for Heath.
What?
This is from Charles.
Great. Well, he's not on the show, so why don't you filter this out
Yes.
beforehand?
Okay. If you're looking, it looks like you're projecting a 20% decline in Bucky Irving's receiving stats this year. Why? I would think his snap share and workload should grow considering his low usage early last season. So he's not on the show, but we could talk about what we expect from Bucky Irving's receiving stats, which last year, Dave, were 47 catches, 392 yards on 52 targets.
I would hope that he at least maintains that over a 17-game pace, if not gets a little bit more on top of it. Tampa absolutely has to use him more. The stat that just blows my mind about Bucky Irving, because he was so good last year, is that he only had 3 games where he played at least 60% of the snaps. So a lot of these games where he was putting up huge numbers, he's playing like 45% of the snaps, 50% of the snaps. I think they've got to give him a bigger piece of the pie. And if that happens, then by nature, he should be able to still be an effective player, high efficiency player, get a little bit more work, and be an asset for fantasy managers. He has a great schedule grade too for this year. It's not like Chase Brown's where he's at the bottom for running backs. And there was something that I read, it was from Todd Bowles, where they asked him to do like 1 or 2 specific things this offseason. And I can't remember. It was something about like his foot placement when he got the ball, something like that. Some sort of I don't know if it was a foot alignment issue or something else. I got to look for it. But Todd Bowles is like, yeah, he absolutely got better there. And so like little things like that, like those are the little technique things that fantasy owners, like they don't care about that stuff. But that's the thing that coaches care about, that would give a player more opportunities. And opportunities are what we crave in fantasy football. So if Bucky Irving is doing things to earn more opportunities, and we saw what he did last year as a rusher, as a pass catcher, then by all means, he should be able to do outstanding things this year.
Okay.
I like Bucky. Yeah, go ahead, Adam.
No, I was just going to say, even when he really took over the backfield beginning in week 16, he had 72 carries the rest of the season compared to 10 for Rachaad White. I think that includes a postseason game. Rachaad White was still almost the exclusive third down back. So I don't see Bucky gaining that role. So 50 catches for a guy who's not the third down back is still pretty damn good. He was at 47 last year. And if Heath cut that, I'll let Heath speak on that. I don't know. But
I know why Heath has it down. Heath has it down because Heath is very based on projections, and he's putting a bigger piece of the pie for this wide receiver core. And why wouldn't he? Because Buka is being added to this wide receiver core, and McMillan could take another step forward in year 2. So if everything goes right for the Bucs, they're working through those progressions. They're getting the ball to those receivers, not Irving in the passing game.
All right, ready? Next question, Dan. I'll give this to you. It's from Tyler. He says, "Dear Antonio, Chase, Deontay, and Martavis."
All Browns. Or no, all Steelers wide receivers.
There you go. We don't have to start a tight end in my redraft league. We start 2 running backs and 3 wide receivers / tight ends. In this format, how high would you draft Bowers or McBride? 2nd round or 3rd round?
That's a great question, because I know a few people are switching toward these leagues. It definitely wouldn't be the 1st round. I would. Is it PPR? Did he mention anything about PPR?
No, but that does make a big difference because
Makes
they
a big difference.
11 or 12.
Yeah, right. Like it's their whole game.
Last year, I'll give you a little help. Last year, they were wide receiver 17 and 18 per game based on what they did. But remember, that was 3 total touchdowns for McBride, 5 for Bowers.
I don't expect their touchdowns to jump. It may be Bowers by a little. I don't expect McBride's touchdowns.
McBride will have more than 3 touchdowns.
I mean, maybe 4 or 5.
6.
Okay, I'll go over. If you're saying 6, I'll go over under 6 with you.
Okay.
Okay, for what? Something.
Dinner in the city.
A what? Dinner in the city?
Dinner in the city.
When will we both be in the city, though?
We'll make plans. Hey, you want to go to the city? We'll go and get dinner. You owe me.
Just to get dinner, though, we got to do something. I'd rather just be like dinner by you and then we play tennis or something. You know what I mean? Like, we're not going to. What are we going to the city for?
That's fine with me. Dinner by me and then tennis. Sure.
Okay. No, it's not necessarily by you. The tennis, at one point, you're going to have to drive.
Whoever wins the bet.
I've been driving it. Yeah. Whoever wins the bet, the other person's driving to them for once.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Anyway, I'll go under 6. But yeah, I think in PPR, full PPR, I can get on board with like that late round 2 range. If it's half or even standard, they lose a lot of value for me, because my whole point, like, I would draft these guys because I want the weekly advantage at the position of tight end. If I'm not getting that weekly advantage, it takes away a lot of the luster from me.
All right. This is from Colin from Dave, the third largest town in Pennsylvania, on Saturdays in autumn.
Say that again.
The third largest town in Pennsylvania on Saturdays.
State College.
Yeah, State College.
Wow.
He wants, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but he wants to take London over Higgins because he thinks London is more consistent, and Higgins basically blew up in the fantasy playoffs last year, but on a week-by-week basis, he wants the consistency of Drake London. Didn't mention that Drake London scored 40 fantasy.
Yeah.
Week 18. But Dave, who do you like, London or I know Dan and I like Higgins. Who do you like, London or Higgins?
I think I have London over Higgins in my rankings. I can triple check that, but it's going to be close between the two of them. And since I have it open, I've got these consistency rankings. Higgins was ahead of London last year, and that was with Drake London's monstrous game in week 18. Look, I think it's, if you believe in T. Higgins and you think he can keep up with what he did last year, and you can kind of overlook the injury bug with him, then I think you take T. Higgins. If you want someone a little bit safer, someone who's going to have a lot of targets, London had more targets per game than T. Higgins. It was close between the two of them, but he had a little bit more. It might have had to do with week 18. I can double check that. Then London's your pick.
Okay. All right. Next question is from David in Toronto, Ontario. 12-team half PPR league. I have the second overall pick. Jamar Chase is going first. I will be taking Bijan. What do you think about stacking him with Drake London? Bijan 2, second overall, London 23rd overall. Yeah, Dave, I'll let you go first on this one. Are you okay with that stack?
I don't love it. I would prefer to this is where I would go T. Higgins over Drake London, just to have some diversity and not be so loaded on the Falcons. I don't mind taking Bijan first. That's great. But getting London to go along with it, I can double check for you how often they both had big games last year. It was probably pretty frequent because Bijan had big games almost every week anyway. But I think I would rather go and get a receiver from a different team to try and just, spread myself out a little bit.
Yeah, I looked at the best stacks from the last 3 years, which is just kind of not really an easy way to do this, but last 3 years, a team that had both a running back and a wide receiver finish in the top 12 in PPR overall, not per game. And where did their teams finish in points per game? The worst team offensively that had a stack, a running back and a wide receiver that finished top 12 in PPR was the 2023 Buccaneers with Rashad White and Mike Evans. So these are both like kind of low end top 12 guys, and they finished 20th in scoring. Now, Bijan and London were one of these stacks. Last year, they both finished top 12, and they were 17th in scoring. That's the second lowest. So it is possible to have, some mediocre offense and a top 12 stack. However, what if they're 25th in offense? What if Penix really stinks? You're going to regret that pick, I think, of Drake London. So
big time.
Yeah.
There were 7 games last year where they both had at least 15 PPR points. That's a high number. So maybe it's not a total killer if you decide to go all in on the Falcons, but I would rather, if you're going to stack guys, I'd rather do it from teams that are more potent offensively than the Falcons.
I will say one thing, though, going through it, just looking through some of the work you've done this week, Dave, on strength of schedule. And you could find all that, by the way, for those listening on our website. Just check out fantasy football, CBS Sports /fantasy football. But I think throughout the NFC South this year, there's going to be some easy games and a very easy schedule and a very soft look, a lot of soft looks for these two players. So that's working in their favor. The other thing is Zach Robinson. They run a lot of plays in Atlanta. I like that a lot for fantasy. So they're really pushing the tempo. They're going to do a lot of no huddle and up tempo, I think, at home with Penix to get him comfortable. So those are all the things working in their favor. I do think there is the possibility, though, that, look, we don't know how many teams had a top 8 grade on Penix. It might have just been Atlanta. Penix last year was electric when throwing outside the numbers, was not electric on some of the routine stuff and some of the timing-based rhythm stuff over the middle of the field that he's going to have to get better at, or this offense is going to punt a lot.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. I got one more email to read, then Apple Podcast questions, then YouTube questions, then hot dogs. We'll be right back.
Oh, yeah.
Fantasy Football Today. All right. I think we just got to get a nickname for Dan. I think we're going to call him the Plug because
What?
this guy, he plugs things. He plugs content. Dave, you read his article. I mean, he is a plugger. He
Gotta
just
do it. What do you
comes
mean?
on and plugs.
Go ahead. Go to our site. Read our site. Donate to Draftathon. Help us out.
There he is.
Better than the guy that plugs our charity drive with the wrong URL.
Adam.
I did not.
Oh, I thought you did.
How did I do that?
By the way, if you're listening right now, hit the like button, please, and leave a comment. Please, we need your help. Just hit the like button. It takes 2 seconds. Hover your hand over the mouse and just click like.
That's the plug. tinyurl.com/2025.
Please call me Plug God, by the way, if you're going to use it.
No. This question is from, I don't have a name or a city, Dave.
It is Fran from somewhere in New Orleans. Let's go with Metairie, Louisiana.
Okay, somewhere in New Orleans.
Metairie is a suburb of New Orleans.
Oh, okay. Dear Swan, Ajax, Cowboy, and Rembrandt.
Stop looking at me, Swan. Oh, we got there at the same time, if not slightly. I got there at the same time, if not slightly before you.
But that's not what this is a reference of.
But
Apparently.
name that movie, Adam.
Okay, I will not name that movie because I am so insulted that you would even ask me to name that movie.
Name that movie. No, not that movie. Not Stop Looking at Me, Swan. Name. I got there at the same time as you've not.
Oh, we've already done this. That was MacGruber.
Yes.
But I didn't. You had to remind me of that one. It's one of my favorite run-of-your references. Those are from the 1979 film The Warriors. Handcuffing running backs is a strategy that's being used in fantasy. That's been used in fantasy for many years. But is there any value in using the same strategy at wide receiver? Would I handcuff someone like Andre Yoshivas if Chase or Higgins gets hurt? Even if it means taking Yoshivas over a mid-level wide receiver such as Christian Kirk or Rashad Bateman? What are your? I have a lot of thoughts on this email, but Dave, you can kick it off.
I think it's rare when we find a receiver that it makes sense to handcuff. But I think the very first one, this name hit me like a bolt of lightning just now. Emeka Egbuka, who's probably already going to have a role in this Bucs offense to begin with. But if something were to happen to Mike Evans or Chris Godwin, keeping in mind that Evans is significantly older than a typical NFL receiver, and Godwin is coming back from injury, Egbuka could see huge target volume. So I love the idea. I love the idea of drafting Egbuka anyway. I've got him as around 10-ish type pick, and that could always go up. It will go up if one of those two veteran receivers aren't ready to go for the start of the season. But if I do invest in Mike Evans, in Chris Godwin, I'm looking for Emeka Egbuka. I might even go around 9 to get him on my team just to back him up. But it's a very rare situation. I'd have to really think about whether or not I'd want to go with even 2 or 3 other wide receivers that make sense as handcuff type players for a certain spot. I think it would almost have to be that exact scenario where we know who the 2 starters are on a certain team. We expect them to be high volume guys. And yet there's a third receiver who will play alongside them and see a massive uptick in targets if something were to happen to one of the other 2 guys.
People are saying this is the friendship strategy. No, this is not the friendship strategy.
No.
The friendship strategy is you take 2 players on the same team. They both have value where you took them. So you're not reaching for them. You're not taking a guy like Andre Yoshivas. But if one of them gets hurt, the other one is a boom. Now, I'm thinking off the top of my head, you could maybe make that case with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, or something like that. But this handcuffing a wide receiver, first of all, you got the wrong Bengal. The Bengal that benefited when Higgins was out was Mike Gesicki. So if you're in a super deep league and you are just like using one of your last picks, maybe it's a best ball league or something like that, think about Gesicki. Isaiah Likely is a tight end handcuff. He is an absolute must-add if Mark Andrews were to get hurt. I don't know. Yeah, this reminds me of the Rams. Remember the Rams? They lost Puka and Cooper Kupp at the same time last year. We didn't know who to get on waivers. Turned out really nobody. Tutu Atwell, Jordan Whittington, Demarcus Robinson. None of them really did anything all that significant. Maybe Atwell, if anyone. So, no, I don't think handcuffing wide receivers is a good idea. But I handcuff quarterbacks, but I don't handcuff them with their backup. I handcuff them with just a backup quarterback. Because that's people, why do you draft so many why do you draft backup quarterback? You have Joe Burrow. What if Joe Burrow gets hurt? I'd rather.
Whose voice is that? Who's that? Whose voice are you imitating?
Let's hear that voice again.
I don't know. I mean, it's just like it's kind of like my Patrick from SpongeBob, actually.
But anyway, Jamie, is that what you said?
Jamie always criticizes me
Noted.
for backup quarterback. but that's not his voice.
Okay.
I can share two other receivers that might fit into this.
Go ahead.
Late round guys that you can pick. One is Darius Slayton, who is probably going to have a role on your team's Giants.
Sir.
Anyway, but we saw it last year when Neighbors went out. Who was the guy that got the most work? It was Slayton. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, no, it was. It's actually a pretty good call. He's pretty good.
And in Kansas City, Hollywood Brown isn't expected to be a high target volume earner. I swear I talk for a living. A high target volume earner to begin the year. But if Rice misses time, if Worthy isn't as good, if Kelsey gets hurt, Brown's going to see more playing time. So there you go. You got 3 wide receivers that you could handcuff if you so chose.
All right. Time for some Apple Podcast questions. First of all, Dan, what's your favorite type of apple?
Good question.
There's only one right answer.
Wow. This is a great question. I think it might be Fuji apple. A Fuji apple. You guys ever had those?
Yeah, Dave. What's the right answer?
The right answer is Honeycrisp.
I was going Honeycrisp.
You guys had a pink lady.
You know what? A good pink lady's good.
Pink
A
lady
good Honeycrisp is the best, Dave. You're right. The bigger ones you're talking about.
Yes, it could be a meal.
Those big Honeycrisp.
Or for me, a light snack.
I actually think Dave is right. There is only one right answer. Now let me ask a more commonly, what do you guys prefer? A nice Granny Smith or just a classic red apple?
I feel like I'm in the old folks' home.
Classic red. But I'm basically
I like the sour Granny Smith over the classic red.
I'm pink lady or nothing. Pink lady.
Yeah, I'd rather go the mix, like the hybrids.
I've been kind of fascinated, and we'll do this at the very end of the show.
Okay.
I went to the grocery store last week and I went on a fruit frenzy.
What does that
I
mean?
bought 11 different kinds of fruit.
Why?
Definitely we ate almost all of it. Like, this is a great season for fruit. So I want to see how many Dan can name later.
That you bought out of the 11? I like that.
I'll give you maybe 3 wrong guesses. If Dave wants to play, he can play too. But I want to see how many you can name. All right, Apple Podcast questions. This one is from Jay Capalbo. Can you talk about keeper strategy of value versus best player regardless of round? Does it change based on format? PPR versus half PPR, 10-team versus 12-team, 3-receiver league. Dave, what strategy of value versus best player?
Sure. So format obviously matters, and how long you can keep a player for also matters. Not all keeper leagues are built the same way. Some leagues, you keep a player, you don't lose a draft pick. Some leagues, you keep a player, you lose your first draft pick, or you keep a player and you lose the round that you took that player in last year. It can even get more complicated than that. But you just have to evaluate how long you can keep a player for or how much it will cost you when you make these decisions. And that's really it. And if there's a close call, you probably lean toward the guy that you can keep longer.
Yeah, okay, but let's say it's not that, right? So let's say can keep Bijan Robinson in the 1st or Chase Brown in the 8th. We get a lot of those.
Chase Brown in the 8th.
Okay, what if it's Bijan in the 2nd or Chase Brown in the 8th?
Then it's probably Bijan. You want to get at least some good value out of your keeper if you can help it.
I think in the shallower leagues, I'm probably less concerned about the round and more into the best player. That doesn't mean I'm not concerned about the round, but the round value matters more. I don't want to come away. Make sure you can draft a stud. Think about who's going to be kept and where your position is in the draft. And if you can't draft a stud, then keep a stud. Right. All right. From Tud 1819, dear Ricky, Julian, Bubbles, and Randers.
By the way, we answer a ton of those keeper questions all offseason and preseason long. So if you have those types of questions, reach out to us and we'll answer them.
You could I'm not going to do it on the air so much, maybe via email, but the time for those questions.
Email, X, Blue Sky, we're around.
Or you can pay for
comments.
And do the St. Jude donation. All right, dear Ricky, Julian, Bubbles, and Randers. That is that park. What is it? The trailer park ways. Yeah. 10-team PPR keeper league. Oh, here we go. Do I keep Achane in the 3rd or Jaden Daniels in the 9th in a 10-team keeper league?
There you go. Tough.
It is tough.
And so, like, my very first question will be, how long can you keep these guys for?
Yeah.
Because if I can keep Jaden Daniels in the
I was
ninth
gonna
round
say,
for his
right.
entire career, like I will sign up for that over H.
Especially if they're only going up like around a year, which some leagues do.
Right. Same thing. But what if it's for only 1 year? After this, you lose both. They go
Yeah.
right back to the player pool no matter what.
I'm going HN.
Then I'm going HN.
Yeah, then it's HM. But if you're playing long term, it's Daniels.
Right. And so like I look at this and I see both players, they're great values. They're both great values. Devon HN in round 3, everybody would take that. He's a round 1 pick. Jane Daniels is going to be like a round 2, round 3 pick, and you're getting him in round 9. So I'm not just going to lean toward Daniels because there's a bigger gap between where where his ADP is and where you can keep him. But they're both awesome deals. And so if it's just for 1 year, maybe even for only 2 years, I think HN is the right answer. But longer than that, it's Daniels.
Grant says, "Dear Harry, Conrad, Kevin, and Eddie."
Harry, Conrad, Kevin, and Eddie.
So I just had to look it up. This is Mobland, which is high on the list of shows.
I've heard this. I have to watch the show. This is like the 4th. It's like, and it's Paramount Plus, and so we have it.
Plug. The plug is back.
Plug God.
Yeah. Plug God. Thank you, Dave.
All right. Of all the 5 fantasy podcasts I listen to daily, this one is by far the best. Ooh,
yes,
I agree.
Go.
I'm already
I agree.
Just the plug's going to start plugging other podcasts. I'm already keeping Justin Fields for an 18th round pick and St. Brown for a 16th round pick. This is a 10-team half PPR Superflex league. So I have 2 more. Drake London in the 13th, Chase Brown in the 11th,
Yes.
Kyler in the 10th, or Neighbors in the 4th.
Oh.
Kyler's easy, right? We got to go Kyler. In the 10th round of a Superflex
It's a 10-team league, though.
I know, but
you can quarterback. There's not as much pressure in a 10-teamer compared to a 12 or.
Yeah, I agree with that.
It wouldn't take.
I mean, the value. How do you pass on Drake London in the 13th?
No, I wouldn't. I would do Drake London and Kyler.
You cannot.
I would take Neighbors over Kyler for sure.
Neighbors in the 4th versus Kyler in the 10th in a Superflex league.
Do you have to keep Fields in the 18th?
I would.
Are we sure he's going to be a thing next year?
If you're getting quarterbacks like Fields and Kyler in the 18th and 10th of keeper leagues, it means this Superflex league is devaluing quarterbacks. The fact that this is even possible.
No, wait. Fields wasn't even a starter last year. Well, he was.
So what? Kyler was. How do you get him in the 10th?
Right. When did Kyler go 10th or later in his life?
I guess he was injured that 1 year. He was coming back last year off the injury or whatever, but like 2 years ago, I mean.
All right, fine. I'm sticking with Kyler in London. What's your answer?
Neighbors in London for me.
Neighbors, Kyler, London, St. Brown. You're throwing back Justin Fields. You can redraft him.
I see.
It'll be a lot higher, or draft somebody else.
It's Fields or Murray for me. I'll go with Fields. He's going to play all season. He's going to score more than Kyler.
Wake Up 23 says, grade this dynasty trade. PPR 1 quarterback league. This is a tough one here. I give up Breece Hall, DJ Moore, Terry McLaurin, and a 2026 first round pick.
That's a lot. What do you get?
Blockbuster.
Breece Hall, DJ Moore, McLaurin, and a 2026 first for Christian McCaffrey and Malik Neighbors.
Oh,
I have Isaac Garendo on my bench.
I mean, Neighbors is cool to get, but you gave up a lot. What was it again? It was Breece. What else?
Breece, DJ Moore, McLaurin, and a 2026 first. McCaffrey and Neighbors. My thought was I would do this.
I don't hate it.
2026 second.
The
first, you're not going to get it done for that.
Well,
because the manager that's got Neighbors is going to value him like one of the greatest.
I mean, how much more McCaffrey do we have?
1 or 2
years.
Buckle my shoe.
So it's a lot like just Neighbors for all of that. And then a little bit.
That's kind of the way that I would look at it too.
I don't know. It's a lot. I still think I would do it though. If I'm playing to win now, and clearly he is playing to win now, giving up the first round pick in the future.
Very close. Give it a C. All right, YouTube. Here we go. What do we got? What are your questions here?
Happy 4th, YouTube.
Kyron Williams or Lamar Jackson?
Lamar.
Like, who would I rather
draft?
Go to dinner with?
No, Kyron. I would never draft Lamar.
Kyron's going to get picked before Lamar.
I do not want Kyron this year.
Yeah, I'm falling out of love with him too.
I think he's fine.
Probably never draft
He's
him.
still just rushing for over 500 yards. He's probably going to be around a top 12 guy. And if Marvin Harrison takes a big step, then there's there's upside there. But I'm not
Wait,
just.
what?
What does Marvin have to do with it?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm going Kyler. Kyron versus.
I'm going to take Lamar over Kyler. Fantasy.
Yeah.
Right
You know what? I'll take Lamar over Kyler.
I was trying to make
I'll take
smart
Lamar
enough.
over Kyler. Yeah.
I was trying to make a joke.
Yeah, that'll do. Yeah,
I was trying to make a joke at Dan. Yeah, that'll do. Yeah,
you
that'll
know that.
do.
You know that.
Yes, I know that. I was trying to make a joke at Dan's expense, and I lost track of the show. Okay, this is a good question. Do you guys buy the hype ETN is actually being given the chance to remain RB1 in Jacksonville?
No, I don't. I think Tanks Bigsby was a better runner last year. I think Tanks Bigsby was better yards after contact, yards before contact. Yep. But I do think ETN was playing through an injury last year. So the question is that the reason why his advanced numbers were so down and why he looked like the worst back out there by far to me than Bigsby? And that's going to be something I have to wait to see, I guess, in the preseason. And honestly, sadly, the regular season to really get a good feel for it, most likely. Because ETN at one point in his career before last year, in Clemson, he was top 3 enforcement tackle rate. And Adam, you went over this in his first couple years with the Jags. He was really good enforcement tackle rate. He was a good runner at one point. He wasn't last year. I like Bigsby's profile better. Either way, it's enough for me to believe that no, ETN won't be this clear-cut RB1, especially when you put in Tootin into the mix. Allen, I've heard, might take third downs because he's the best pass blocker on the team already. Like, there's just a lot of backs. There's 4 backs. They're all going to make the roster. They drafted 2 of them this year. It's not a situation I love.
And you want to find the guy in Jacksonville because you watch Liam Cohen.
Right.
Second Liam Cohen reference of the show, by the way. You watch Liam Cohen and how he designed plays for Tampa last year, and it's good stuff. Like, uses a ton of misdirection, not just on pass plays, but run plays as well. Opened up space because the linebackers are out of position. It's definitely part of the reason why Bucky ended up being so good in the second half of last season, because he was schemed up really well. And now Liam Cohen is in Jacksonville and he's going to be able to do a lot of those similar things with his running backs there. But Dan, I think you nailed it. I think that we're going to see different running backs at different times step up and have big games for Jacksonville. And I don't think there's going to be many sticky, anything more than like maybe 2 games in a row, 3 games in a row. I don't think there's going to be a stud running back that comes out of Jacksonville. You want to take one of these guys and put him on your bench, that's fine. ETN's the one I have the rank the highest. He's barely a top 100 player for me. Bigsby definitely had the efficiency in his favor. Tootin is a fumble away from being on the bench for like 6 weeks. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's one of Travis or Tank, but I don't think you'll ever feel super confident starting either one of them.
Next question is from Johnny Airport. Baked burger or hot dog with ketchup?
Good question. Do I get to make the burger any way I want? For example, if I can make a burger that's not just, ground
Adam
beef.
makes the burger.
Because if I'm, that's the thing. Because if Adam making the burger, he's just taking like ground beef. He's just like kind of making a crappy patty out of it and just like plopping it in an oven. It dries it out. But if I can mix it with breadcrumbs and egg and stuff to really like juice it up, this is the thing. When you
egg,
bake
you and
a
eggs.
burger, well, yeah, I love eggs.
Always back with
eggs. Eggs are a superfood. You have no idea. But you really don't. But as far as the burgers go, like if you're gonna bake a burger, you're gonna dry it out. You're ruining the burger.
Yeah, no, we know this. Just answer the question. Baked burgers or hot dog with ketchup? You don't have to rip bake. I don't do baked burgers anymore. They suck. Okay,
I'm over it. Yeah. Oh, I didn't
air fry everything. Okay, baked burger or hot dog with ketchup?
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, I'll go with the baked burger.
Hot dog with ketchup.
I don't want ketchup on any hot dog.
What are your thoughts on drafting Jaden Higgins late? Reminds me of a potential Tank Dell in his rookie season. This is Texans 3rd round rookie Jaden Higgins.
As far as talent goes, they couldn't be farther apart.
Yeah,
Higgins
they're very
is in the
different
burner.
players.
He's also gigantic. That's actually a strength, is that he can be a physical outside receiver who can win 50-50 balls and be a good complementary pass catcher in Houston's offense. The only way I'd be more interested in Higgins is if Joe Mixon misses time and it forces Houston to throw the ball maybe a little bit more than they'd want to, and that would up the target volume for him and that would make him an interesting fantasy play. But I imagine he will be third on the team in targets behind Nico, obviously, and then Christian Kirk in the slot. Kind of a safe-ish PPR guy that you can look for late on draft day, middle to late on draft day. But if you want to put Higgins on your bench, I don't have a problem with it. I do think he's very talented.
I'm the opposite on that, just real quick. I think he's like my perfect ideal type late round, last round type pick, because I believe there's a chance, given his profile, 6'4", can move pretty damn good for a 6'4" athlete, that he could be the guy that wins, like the late season guy that wins your league. Because there are guys there, Kirk, and there are players that are in the mix there, but there's also opportunity there for sure in Houston. And he has somewhat of that Nico Collins-esque build that they already found with Nico Collins a few years ago out of Michigan, who dominated the Senior Bowl and was held back by bad quarterback play. In some ways, Higgins, too, was held back by bad quarterback play at Iowa State. So I like that play.
All right. Next question or comment is from Garrett. Just had to say the thumbnail with Adam as a mailman might be the greatest of all time. Adam looks like he was born to be a mailman. All right, let's see this
I
thumbnail.
get what you're saying when you say that, Garrett. He does. Oh my God. Oh my God. He does look like he was born to be a mailman. I don't mean that in any kind of negative way, but Adam definitely looks like he was born to be a mailman. So I don't think you could make a more fitting. That it looks perfect. Looks like that's just Adam every day, that he's just going throughout his day.
When you're scrolling through YouTube and you see that, you can't help but click on the video.
Jacob wants to know if we can buy a Jacoby Myers breakout. I cannot. I don't think he's a good.
No shot will I buy that.
Yeah, sorry.
Jacoby Myers straight
But
up.
would it shock you if he averaged 13 PPR points per game and was a pretty steady wide receiver 3?
No.
That's what he
but if that's happening, Bowers is done. You're wasting a draft pick on him.
Last question from Dan here. Different Dan. How are you valuing Chuba Hubbard?
I like him.
Chuba has been so consistently good when given opportunity, and we still don't care.
Wrong.
It seems like the fantasy community. What do you mean?
No, that's just not true. He wasn't good.
Not?
No, at the end of 2023, he was not good. At 2024, he was amazing.
Last year was his first good year.
With given the opportunity, yeah. Let's see, 2023.
Maybe that's post Bryce Young playing good football, because I think Bryce Young will continue to play at the level he played around the midseason mark last year.
No, he was great. I mean, he was great last year. Okay, in his last 12 games of 2023, Chuba Hubbard was on pace for 288 yards. He averaged
288 yards,
288 carries.
Okay,
so that's work. That's basically workhorse. He averaged 3.7 yards per carry, 12.4 PPR fantasy points per game, which is going to be right around RB 24 per game every season. He is, in my opinion, of the top 20-ish running backs or wherever he is, the most likely to be a huge bust. Doesn't mean that he will be, but I can't think of anyone who has a better bust case than Chuba Hubbard. I can't. So I will not be drafting him a lot. He's not my guy. Not my guy.
Okay. I'm not going to say he's my guy. What's his ADP? What's our fans only ADP on him?
On Fantasy Pros, he's RB 17. He's going just before Alvin Kamara and Joe Mixon.
And on our site, he's at 54th overall. So that's a round 5 pick. Absolutely smash him in round 5.
Same on
7th in consistency last year, 13th in targets per game, 13th in PPR points per game. I think you pencil him in for 15 PPR points a week, and you get yourself a good RB2. Keep in mind that in 2023, you mentioned all those stats and the terrible rushing average. Carolina's offense was miserable. Their offensive line sucked. Bryce Young didn't know what he was doing.
Right.
The coaching staff got replaced entirely after that season. But halfway through the season, they got rid of Frank Reich as their head coach. It was a total S show. And now this year, Dave Canales' second season, offensive line much better. We already have a year's worth of evidence from 2024 that Chuba Hubbard is more than capable of being a lead back. The Panthers rewarded him with a big contract. Rico Dowdle doesn't scare me. Trevor Etienne doesn't scare me. This dude's going to get a lot of work. An easy pick in round 5.
All right, Dan. If you can name all 11 fruits that I bought last week without 3 wrong answers.
Okay.
I'll give you 15 love in the first point. I'll give you the first point of the
He's going to have 15 love anyway.
Yeah, I don't want that. I want to beat you straight up. we'll figure out what I'll get out of this. I can't. Whatever.
Another way we could do this is if Dave, do you want to compete in the Name That Fruit contest?
Sure.
Okay, so I think what you do is you keep guessing until you get one wrong, and then the other person guesses, and you keep going until whoever names that last fruit wins.
It's a terrible way to
There's
go.
no strategy here. Do you want to go first? Do you want to go second? Like, what do you want to do?
All right, I'll kick us off.
Okay.
I know you got raspberries and blueberries.
I got
both.
raspberries. I did not get blueberries. Dave, you're up.
Blueberries was risky.
Apple.
I knew you got. Yeah, that's easy. Wow, back to
I already
me.
had apples. I did not buy those.
Okay, oranges.
Correct.
Okay, so I'm at raspberries, oranges.
Is this the end of our podcast?
Yeah, it is.
This is
I
the
mean,
end
like the end of it, like this. We're never doing another one again.
of it.
We're literally guys naming fruits.
All right, go ahead, Dan.
That
You're
Adam
still-
apparently bought 11 of.
Yeah, you only have two so far.
Raspberries, oranges, mango. Nah, that's
Mango is correct.
what a lucky guess that was. Who buys mangoes? I love mangoes. Mangoes might be the most underrated one.
Well, you just guess.
It's hard. Like I'm almost done there. I'm in a lot of ways almost done. Like I don't want to guess pineapple. You didn't get pineapple. It's not a guess. You know, I don't want to guess that.
All right, listen, you get out of time. Dave, you're up.
You definitely bought a kiwi.
Strawberries.
Strawberry is correct.
Yeah, easy one. I forgot immediately. Banana.
Banana is correct.
All right, how many am I? I've had like 5 now.
Now, how
yeah,
many
you got
fruits have we named in this?
How is there
sequence?
even 6 more to name?
strawberries, bananas, mango,
Watermelon.
oranges, raspberries. Watermelon is on
That's
the
Thomas.
list.
That's
5
Thomas.
left.
Oh,
5 left now.
Don't give me any more, Thomas. In this, don't tell me anymore.
Oh, you cheated?
I said that was Thomas. I
No.
said that was Thomas.
And Dave, your turn again.
Plum.
Nectarines. Everybody loves a good nectarine.
Yes,
this
I
time of year.
did. They were so good.
Nectarines are so underrated. My mom always buys them. When I go over to the house, I have 2 at least every session. Oh, so good nectarines.
Yeah, they're great.
What else? I've had like some 7. Stop guessing in the comments, Thomas. I'm trying to get these on my own.
Stop looking at the comments, cheater.
All right, fine. I'll turn them off.
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to bring Thomas. Thomas, you get to play. Thomas, you're up. Dan's out of time. 4 fruits, 4 left.
Grapes,
Grapes, correct.
pomegranate,
That's not.
Dave,
an
you're up.
You look like a guy that would be scared of a pomegranate.
Yeah, I would never eat pomegranate.
Honeydew.
cantaloupe,
Cantaloupe is correct.
I think Spencer Patterson probably nailed this one. I can't usually. I used to be able to pull comments. Now Adam's taking
No,
away,
no
taking away
tomato.
my freedoms.
No,
He's the type of guy that would call
No,
tomato.
he
a
is
fruit.
the tomato fruit.
Only
tomato
2
is the
left.
best fruit guy.
only 2 left here.
Are there even 2 fruits left to name?
One of them is red, and one of them is is orange.
Peaches.
nectarine,
No, he said
We already
We've
said
already
next-
said all
no,
that.
no peaches. They both have pits.
What?
You sure you didn't buy a plum?
Yeah.
Oh, cherries.
Yes, cherries.
What else?
The last one's really
Pineapple?
No, it's orange and it has a pit.
And we guessed orange.
You can or
That's
cannot
nectarine.
refrigerate it.
I'm already done.
And they have a dry fruit version of this with the same name.
Give me the clue again.
Okay.
out.
It's
I'm out.
orange. It's a circle. It has a pit. And the dry fruit version has the same name. And the dry fruit version is more common than the.
Johnny Airport is such a good commenter.
Yeah, he's great.
Adam spent $395 on fruit at Whole Foods.
Apricot was the last. fruit.
Apricot. Who buys apricots?
They're delicious.
Oh, yeah, apricots are
72.
It's a bit of an old man fruit. I get that.
Fruit apricot.
All right. Thanks for indulging. Thanks for playing, everybody. We'll talk to you on Monday. Have an awesome 4th of July. We appreciate you.
Happy birthday, America.
Yeah. USA. We love you, America. We'll talk to you on Monday. See ya.
Bye.